بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم ولعن أعداءهم. اللهم كل وليك الحجة بن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا حتى تسكنه أرضك طوعا وتمتعه فيها طويلا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. So we talked about the necessity of مرجعية and how people as a non-expert should go and follow experts, because this is the rationality that we can understand. If you are not an engineer, you need an engineer to build your house, an architect to build your house, a doctor to prescribe a medicine to you, a hospital to run an operation on you, and etc. And then when you reach the religion, and suddenly you think that you can understand everything, how? So we need scholars. If we are not an expert, if you're not knowledgeable scholar, if we cannot understand religion, which is the case in most masail. Yes, some too many things that we can understand. If you go and read Quran, you will realize that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will resurrect the body and the soul. This is obvious. This is called darura. In darura, you don't need to do taqleed. That praise is wajib or wajib. That's darura. Fasting is wajib. That's darura. You don't need to do taqleed in darura. Scholars mention that. In darurat or daruriyat, so-called essential, we don't need to do taqleed because it's obvious. I don't think a scholar will come and say, no, salat is not wajib. This is darura. Or hajj is not wajib. You know, Muammar Gaddafi used to say, he had to have a book called Al-Kitab al-Akhdar, the green book. It was the manual book of his ideology. He was insane, to be honest. But usually, normal people, when they ask them, Muslim people will understand. So a woman should understand that hijab is wajib. She doesn't need to do taqleed in that. Yes, praying with hijab or without hijab, this needs an expert to extract the information out of evidence. Because if you are in a place that no one can see you, still you have to pray with hijab or without hijab. Of course you have to pray without hijab, but an expert should let you know that. But hijab in general, everyone knows hijab is wajib. Somebody came to Imam alayhi salam and told him there is a lady, she got married after she got divorced without taking the iddah, the waiting period. And she claims she didn't know. He said she's lying. Because all Muslims know that a lady in Islam, she's a Muslim, she's not a convert, should take iddah. So she's lying. She committed adultery, fornication, and now that she's been caught, she's saying that, okay, I didn't know that, I need to take iddah and wait for a period of time, defer. So if the husband passes away, it's 4 months. If iddatul talaq, it's 3 period, and etc. So, but in general, so what is the difference between iddat al-talaq and iddat al-maut? Probably some people don't know that, and they need to follow scholars. But in general, for a lady to take iddah, that's obvious. So, in other things that are not obvious, we need to go to expert. Of course, for this ceiling to stay above us, we need walls or poles. I can understand that. But how I can build that safely, this ceiling, this roof, on this wall, this is that we need to go to an expert to understand that or to build such ceiling or such roof. The angle, the thickness, the material, and etc. So in general, we need to do taqlid. And Ahl al-Bayt alayhim salam not only told us that you have to follow scholars, but also they told us you have to follow pious scholars. أما من كان من الفقهاء صائنا لنفسه مخالفا على هواه مطيعا لأمر مولاه فللعوام أن يقلده. Why? Otherwise they're going to be like rabbis between Israelite when they lied. And Imam alayhi salam al-Askari told that companion the difference between our scholars and liar rabbis is that the rabbis used to be known by the nation as liars. Yet you saw those Jewish used to follow them. And if our scholars lie, so they lose the adala, that the justice, so they are not adil, you're not allowed to follow them. Well, he's an expert, yes, because he might change, because if he lies, he might change the hukum of Allah, the verdict of Allah. So not only we say that we have to follow a scholar, he should be a pious scholar as well. And then we can resolve the second problem. Why should we pay khumus to scholars? So, in Sahm al-Imam, for instance, because khumus should be divided to two major sections. Half of it should go to poor Sayyids, lineage of the Prophet ﷺ. The other half should be spent on places that we can be sure that Imam al-Mahdi alayhi salam would be what? Would be happy with that. إحراز رضا الإمام. So that's why we have to go to scholars. Okay, unless if we, this is not a fatwa, but I'm telling you, are you 100% sure? No, how you can be 100% sure? A great marja will study everything. They say, okay, I want to build masjid in Melbourne. I want to use Sahm al-Imam. Can I? So there are several masajid in Melbourne. Well, you don't have, for instance, a Husseiniya in Madagascar. So probably the money should be spent there. Because there are Shia there, they need the money. And I don't know that. But because a great scholar receives too many visits from around the globe talking about their situation, their problems, probably he sees that to use that will be closer, will make us closer to use the money in places that Imam might be happy with. So this is how they explain it, our scholars to us. And I can remember one scholar, Sayyid Ahmed al-Khunsari, Ayatollah Sayyid Ahmed al-Khunsari, rahmatullah, who used to be in Tehran. I think one of my teachers told me that even in Sahm al-Imam, he used to tell the payer that give me wakala to use it on behalf of you. So he used to do the ihtiyat. So the combination between him and the payer. So I'll use it in this, or give me wakala mutlaqa, or I'll use it on that specific place. Are you happy with that? So it's not simply that we don't need scholars, we don't have to pay the scholars. And most of people, most of those who say, okay, don't pay khumus to scholars, because they might abuse the khumus, they themselves don't pay the khumus. Okay, they abuse, what about you? Did you go and put the money on the right place? Give it to, for instance, some $10 million of khumus. Did you establish a hospital for cancer people? Or you just sat there and bought some Ferraris and some, I don't know, shares and houses and buildings? using the money of Imam alayhi afdal salatu wassalam. If you put it in the right place in accordance to your understanding, okay, you might have a hujjah in the day of judgment. But if you don't, you try to manipulate and accuse scholars. So those who don't pay khums and don't believe in khums are closer to the mercy of Allah than you. You as person who doesn't pay khums and accuses scholars with fisq and lies and etc. Correct? And why we need scholars and jurists? Because in too many occasions we need someone to stop the dispute, and scholars can do that as hakim al-shar, as qadi, as jurist. If there is a dispute on a house, between people who inherited that house of their father, mother, whatsoever, each one of them say that I want this part, and no one of them wants to sell the house. Then a jurist will come and say, okay, this part A is for this person, part B is for that person, because he has to put an end to that dispute. And he does that. If a lady gets oppressed by her husband, a wife, the talaq should be done by men in accordance to Islamic law, but not always. If the lady is getting oppressed, the husband is beating the lady, not spending on her, or I don't know, humiliating her, cursing her. They say that, scholars say that. Not treating her with dignity. She can raise her case to the Hakim al-Shara. And Hakim al-Shara will contact that person and talk to him. And if he doesn't show interest in correcting himself, behaving himself, then Hakim al-Shara will tell him, okay, you have to divorce this lady. And if he refuses, then the Hakim al-Shar will do that غصبا على أنفه. I've seen too many people coming to me and telling me that, yes, that lady, yeah, what about her? She got married to someone, but she's still my wife. No, she's not your wife. If the Hakim al-Shar divorced her from you, she is not your wife, ولا كرامة. She's the wife of that man, because the Hakim al-Shar divorced her from you. No, talaq is my haq. No, not always. You want to oppress? You want to beat? You want to abuse? You want to humiliate? Islam will stop that, because yes, in some cases man has the call, in some cases woman has the call. Okay? If a man says that, okay, I don't want you to breastfeed my kid, and the kid is her kid as well, it's the call of the mom. You don't want, it's not your call, it's the call of the mom, and etc. But what Islam takes care about is the dignity of people. So if a man, I've heard that of scholars, if a husband always slanders the wife, slanders her family, slanders her, she can raise her case to the Hakim al-Shara. I'm not saying don't be patient. I'm talking about the general law. What is more appropriate, we have to assess every case by itself. But the general law is the Hakim al-Shara. The jurist has the right, and that's why the vast majority of our scholars believe that the qadi should be mujtahid, should be a great scholar. Why? Because he should know very well how he has to put an end to disputes. It's not an easy task. I can remember one of my teachers told me that some hard and sophisticated cases in the era of Ayatollah al-Qulpaygani, the court used to refer those cases to Ayatollah al-Masad Muhammad Rada al-Gulpaygani, because he was an expert and has great scholars. So the court itself in Iran, they used to refer that case to Sayyid Muhammad Rada al-Gulpaygani rahmatullah alayh, because it was a sophisticated case, for instance. So we need scholars not only to follow them in our a'mal, deeds, but also so they can put an end to disputes. They are the one who can say, okay, now you have to defend, as Sayyid Sistani said, Ayatollah Sistani, you have to defend Iraq from Daesh. It was a fatwa. So I can't work for myself. Or we have to use patience and sit back in houses and homes. He can understand. We can't do it out of our... This is the difference between Shia and non-Shia, that we have a center person that we follow. Of course, he's not a ma'soom, he's not infallible like Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam, but he tries his best to deliver as correct as possible verdict that can serve the vast majority of people in accordance to Islamic laws and Islamic jurisprudence. So accusations are so cheap that scholars been accused with, that they use the khumus for themselves. What do you mean? Ayatollah Sistani lives in a rental house in Najaf, and it's 70 square meters. Yes, one of his relatives told my wife, she's in Mashhad, she said, yes, I think, she said that even his daughters, when they go to Najaf to give him a visit, he doesn't have a place to for them to reside in Najaf. They only give him a visit because his house is so small. So are you accusing such person with what? Playing with the money? That's very cheap accusation. So they know better where, that's why they use the khumus. Yes, there might be some corruption. Every system there might be some corruption. But doesn't mean the head of that system is corrupted. And scholars, that's why they have to be pious, knowledgeable, brave. That's important. If someone is pious and he prays and things, but he's not brave, as has been said by some scholars, that a marja needs to have 100 descriptions and merits. One of them is knowledge, the other one is patience, the third one is bravery, and etc. He has to be accurate, he has to be tough, he has to be kind. He has to be that, like that. So 100 merits a marja needs to be followed, so we can follow him. So, and we need them to put ends to disputes, and we need them in major issues such as wars and peace and etc. So Marja'iyya plays very important role in Shia system, that we cannot, don't say, okay, I can pray my prayers without, without needing to follow anyone. I'm not going to have any shak. Yes, I'm not saying that your salat is batil. But if you want to live for 60, 70 years, you can't do that without any guidance. Because you face ordeals, problems, troubles in your life that you need the guidance of an expert. What are you going to do then? A dispute on earth, a mas'ala, you want to borrow money from the bank, usury is haram. Whether you take it or give it, even giving usury is haram. So how can I borrow money? Here you see the need towards scholars. You want to marry. Are you allowed to marry a Christian woman permanently or not? I don't know. You have to see what a marja says. Are you allowed to marry this lady or not? Okay, the lady is Muslim and the man is a very good, nice man, but he's Christian. Is she allowed to marry him? Well, that's not fair. Listen, it doesn't work like that. The hukm al-Islam is something. What's fair, what's not fair. What do you call it? Socially is something else. Samahat al-Sheikh used that phrase a couple of days ago. So now, jurisprudence-wise, we have to be accurate. So in our life, or our lives, if we want to live as religious people for 60, 70s, definitely we need the opinions of experts. Multiple times. Okay, you go to Hajj and it was a wrong date. Calendar date. So the government there said it's the first day, and in accordance to Shia point of view, it's the last day of, for instance, the Qa'dah. That's not the Hajj. So should you stay in Arafat on that day or the day after? If you stay with them, would that be accepted as your Hajj, Hajjat al-Islam, or not? So too many things. Unless if you don't want to be a religious person, you know, sometimes you like to experience the religion. That's something else. But don't consider yourself as a religious person. Yes, halal. I eat halal. Okay, you eat halal? What do you mean you eat halal? Can you buy meat from Christian guy who claims that this meat is halal? He doesn't know halal. Probably he means, and I've seen that. It's not pork, but it's still not halal. You know? It's not enough to be not pork. It needs to be prepared in accordance to Islamic law by a Muslim person. Well, it was slaughter, Fari al-Awdaj al-Arba'a, by a Christian guy. You know, he's a very nice guy. You know, he's a good butcher. He takes the cow and put it on the floor in a second and everything. He's a nice man. Yes. To smoke vape with him, but not probably to eat the meat that he prepared. Because the person needs to be a Muslim in accordance to the vast majority of our scholars. Okay, you know, they prepare chickens in factories using the machine. So they are not hand-slaughtered chickens. Can I eat or not? Go and ask a scholar. You cannot understand that. You need to ask a scholar. I've received a question, and that I found said Sistani has a fatwa on that. They feed chickens with pork. They do that. So they gave the taste of pork to the meat of chicken. Is that haram? Would that make the chicken haram, jallal? Because there are some animals called jallal. If they eat the feces of a human being, they would be considered as jallal. And for you, it's a sheep, but it's haram to eat. You need to give them the proper food for a period of time, then you can prepare them. So would that make them jallal? No, Sayyid Sistani says it's halal, but it's makruh. So you're eating chicken, but with a taste of, you're eating chicken with a taste of the pork. It's not haram. Well, I don't know. It's not that pleasant. What I want to say, so too many things that we need in marriages, in what we eat, how we live. and etc. So you cannot boycott all scholars. Probably you can go from scholar to another, but boycott all scholars. All scholars are bad. Marja'iyya are corrupted. This is your false accusations. I told somebody, one of my friends, he started to talk against all Maraja. I told him, you cannot accuse all Maraja. He said, why? I told him, because you're accusing the system that Ahlul Bayt invented for us. You can't say all, yes, all Maraja are not infallible. That's correct. And they say that. And that's why we have Al-Ahwat Wujuban as a obligatory precaution. You have to avoid that, or you have to do that, and etc. This can show us that they don't believe that they are infallible. But it doesn't mean that they make mistakes deliberately, change the truth deliberately. Yes, that is the best of their understanding. So don't accuse scholars with such naive, cheap, and stupid accusation that all scholars, all Hawza, all Maraja. If you simply don't want to be a religious, but hang out with religious people, that's okay, say that. Be brave and say it. Okay, listen, I'm not that religious person, but I need to smoke shisha with you. Don't boycott me, that's okay. You can come, join our gathering. Under one condition, that you don't, brings those topics that we don't accept. I think that's enough, صح? Anything, any question? Because I received too many questions about that, scholars, accusations, turban people, and things like that. And of course, we tolerate all of that. No problem. We have to tolerate. Because Ahlul Bayt tolerated all of that. And we have to tolerate as well. But that doesn't make their accusations right. Rather, I will make those who tolerate that patient and pious. May Allah guide us all to the right path. هذا والحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على محمد وآله الطاهرين.